What's up guys, it's Brand here from Bloody Breakdown, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different I haven't really done before. And before I even start, let me just preface this video with the fact that yes, I understand people are entitled to their own opinions. And to Taylor Antrim, who is the author of the article I'm going to be talking about today, I do not agree with your opinion, but I do respect it. And if anyone has anything to say about me responding to this, just as she has the right to voice her opinion on these matters, as do I. So with that said, we're going to be talking about an article that Vogue, of all places, put out recently about horror films, about the horror community. Like I said, it's written by Taylor Antrim, and the title of the article is, "Wasn't This Supposed to Be the Golden Age of Horror?" And specifically, she's referring to this year of 2018. But we'll get into the article, and we'll tackle it piece by piece. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just a couple of things that I wanted to discuss. So here we go. The article starts off by saying, "Remember when horror was good? Wasn't that long ago, just last year in fact. Scary movies went on an absolute tear in 2017. We had blockbusters like Split and It, also Raw, It Comes at Night, Thelma, Super Dark Times, and of course Get Out, Jordan Peele's masterpiece." Now I'll agree that especially Split, It maybe to a lesser degree, and Get Out, definitely amazing box office, well-made movies. Absolutely. No disagreeing with you there. And it talks about Get Out winning the Oscar, and it says when it did, and when it didn't, maybe the air went out of the genre. Something happened. I'm not sure that there's been a good scary movie since. So there hasn't been a good scary movie since Get Out back in 2017, according to Taylor here. She goes on to say, okay, there was Hereditary in June. There was A Quiet Place, which was a fun 90 minutes at the multiplex, but really more of a PG-13 thriller than a horror flick. Can we please just gather hands across America for a fucking minute and acknowledge that thrillers do fall under the genre of horror? It's a subgenre. Let's be perfectly honest with ourselves. I'm so tired of arguing and debating this. It goes back to Silence of the Lambs, when it won an Oscar and no one wanted to call it a horror film, when it's about a guy who skins women alive to wear their skin. Okay? If that's not a horror film, I don't know what is. You can call it a psychological thriller if you want to, but in my opinion, a psychological thriller is a subgenre of the horror genre. And we'll move on and leave that alone for now. It says, what else? Did you subject yourself to Winchester, The Nun, or Slender Man? Come on, Taylor. That's a low blow to go for, especially in Slender Man's case, some of the weak sauce horror of this year. I could go to any year, including 2017, the year you're so high on, and talk about how it was a weak year for horror just by mentioning some of the lesser movies out there that came out that year, such as Slender Man. It says, we didn't even get a decent shark movie this year. Besides Jaws, name a really good horror movie. Please, I'm begging you. That involves a shark. It's not Deep Blue Sea. It's not The Meg. Okay? So I kind of hope you were being facetious with that line, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. She goes on to say, no, 2018 has not been good for horror, and I'm including David Gordon Green's wildly overpraised Halloween in that assessment, which has been making buckets of money. So it's earlier you're praising movies for being blockbusters, but now you're kind of hinting at the fact that despite it's made so much money and been a blockbuster, that it's still not really good. Interesting. I also wanted to bring something else up. You talk about It as it was one of these big fantastic films of 2017, but Taylor, you yourself tweeted that you did not like that film back in 2017 when it first came out. So you're sending me mixed signals here. I'm not really understanding what you're trying to say. It just seems like you're trying to write a piece to take some pot shots at 2018's horror when you even admit that, not in this article. In this article you claim that it was fantastic. You added on a list of great horror films from 2017, but I've seen your Twitter recently, and I've went back far enough to realize that you admitted you weren't a fan of the film. So all I would say is, if you're gonna have a narrative, at least get it straight. So now you're talking about Halloween here, and before, even before we jump into this Halloween stuff, let's talk about, because you mentioned Slender Man and like The Nun for 2018 horror films, trying to prove your point. But you left out, and later on in the article you talk about Suspiria, and apparently you're not a big fan of it. So, we won't even get into that. But there's Overlord, which is getting fantastic reviews from the horror community, and Unsane was fantastic in my opinion. Mandy was an acid trip of incredibleness. I love that film, and a lot of other people did as well. Upgrade, Summer of '84, even Puppet Master the Littlest Reich. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a fantastic film, but it's a good time, and it's probably the best that franchise has been since its original inception. So I think you're being a little unfair and a little biased, honestly. More so unfair to point out things like Slender Man as markers of 2018 horror. I just don't believe that's the case. But going on here for Halloween, you say that it was wildly overpraised. It's been making buckets of money, perhaps because there's nothing else remotely scary to go see. Halloween is not scary. It's a ploddingly retro slasher film, and strenuously, I say cynically, woke in its vision of female empowerment via revenge. Here's the thing about Halloween. So yeah, it's made almost $250 million at the box office at the time of me making this video. It's got a good Rotten Tomato score. That's damn near impossible to do for horror films, especially. So there's a critical acclaim. There is a financial acclaim, I guess. I mean, it's made so much money. And then there's the fact that this movie is single-handedly becoming responsible for the resurgence of an entire subgenre of slasher horror. Ever since that movie made the money it did, Robert Englund and I forget her name. She plays Nancy in the film series of Nightmare on Elm Street. Heather Langenkamp. Both of them are now saying, yeah, we're up to do another one. You got LeBron James out there saying he wants to produce a Friday the 13th film. People in the entertainment industry aren't stupid. And they see that this movie, Halloween I speak of, is a resurgence of the slasher genre. And we're going to be moving away from the more paranormal activity, demons and ghosts type of horror that I think we've come accustomed to in the last several years. We're going to be going back to, in my opinion, retreads and reboots of, whether they be good or bad, of slasher horror. And we're going to see some new slasher icons and films that are going to be coming out as a direct result of this film. And, as far as the whole, female revenge thing, that's what the genre's been about since the beginning. But this movie, Halloween almost said H2O, holy shit. Those are H40, whatever. Does a fantastic job of that, and it's the best I've seen the character of Laurie Strode since the original film. So I mean, I disagree with you on every facet I've read in this article about Halloween. I thought it was a very well made film. I thought that it's been successful in every way that can be measured. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, she just kind of goes on here about different things. At one point in time in the article, she says that she liked Hereditary. But earlier in the article, she says there hasn't been a good horror film since 2017's Get Out. But later on in the article, you say that you liked Hereditary, which is a 2018 horror film. The same way you said in this article you liked It, but when It came out last year or year before, you claimed you didn't like it. So honestly, to me, the more I read into this, because I'll be honest, at first the fanboy in me reads this article and goes, oh, well, that's not fair to say that because of this and this. And then you start reading into the article and you realize that you are really just uninformed, in my opinion, or you're just plainly being unfair for the eyeballs, the clicks on your article. If it's almost as if you dig enough into this article and her past, this is just a clickbait article. And that's kind of what I'm leaning on the side of. But once again, don't agree with your opinion, but I do respect it. Just throwing out my opinion as well. And you talk about in this article that Halloween wasn't scary and that no movies this year have really been scary to you. What do you what is your definition of horror? What do you think is scary? Do you want more jump scares in movies? Is that what it is? Because I think I can speak for damn near the entire horror community and horror fans at large that say, yeah, we're fucking tired of overuse of jump scares. That ain't horror, all right? It's tension building. It's so many more things that go into it than cheap jump scares. Is that what you want more of? Is that what was lacking for Halloween and movies of 2018 in the horror genre for you? And I'll go ahead and tell you, here's the reason why a lot of horror movies are afraid, and people who make these movies are afraid to go into certain topics, is because people don't want to be challenged in the current political climate. You know, people are very offensive or are offended by things that really maybe they shouldn't be offended of. And it's really hard in this current climate to be able to challenge people and make them step outside of their own heads and take a look at things that they're not comfortable with without making a big fuss about it and, you know, just sending the movie right on its way without giving it a second look. Maybe that's why people are a little scared to do that. But you know what? I've rambled long enough. I think I've covered just about everything I wanted to cover on this article. Taylor Antrim, you know, like I said, I respect your opinion, but I vehemently disagree with it. So yeah, guys, I want to know what you think in the comment section down below. By the way, I'm going to link this article in the description section along with all of my social media outlets and even ways to support this channel via Patreon or even my Amazon wish list, which has a whole bunch of stuff on it that would make this channel so much more better in terms of its video and audio quality. But yeah, like I said, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below, so check the article out in the description, or just, you know, based on what I've said here, let me know what you thought. Also, guys, leave a thumbs up if you've enjoyed, and if you haven't already, why don't you become a subscriber of this channel and click that little notification bell right next door to that subscription button so you'll never miss an upload. So guys, with that said, I'm Bren from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you next time.